What would you do if you woke up at 5 in the morning and the person sleeping beside you was simply gone? No goodbye. No note. No phone, no passport, just silence. On October 10, 2019, in the quiet college town of Columbia, Missouri, a young husband called the non-emergency police line to report his wife missing. His voice sounded calm but confused. He explained that he had not seen her in nearly 2 days. She had left during the early morning hours, he said. Her phone was still on the table. Her wedding ring had been left behind. Her car keys were in the kitchen. Her name was Mengqi Ji, pronounced Mengqi. She was 28 years old, highly educated and the mother of a 1-year-old daughter. At first glance it seemed like a puzzling disappearance. But as investigators would soon discover, the mystery wasn't just about where she went. It was about what was happening inside her marriage. Mengqi Ji had come to the United States from China years earlier to pursue higher education. She earned a master's degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering from the University of Missouri and secured employment in her field. Intelligent, disciplined, and driven, she had built a promising life far from home. It was at work that she met Joseph Elledge, a younger colleague. They eventually married in 2017. To outsiders, their relationship appeared stable. But marriages often look different from the inside. By 2019, the couple had a baby daughter. Mengqi had stepped away from her career to become a stay-at-home mother. Financial stress weighed heavily on the household. Joseph had left his job and was finishing his undergraduate degree. Arguments had become routine. Small disagreements turned into daily tension. When police first interviewed Joseph, he described typical marital struggles. He said they argued often but insisted it was nothing extreme. He mentioned that Mengqi had seemed distant in recent months. He admitted she had been communicating with someone else online, a man living in China. He framed it as emotional betrayal, something he discovered only after she disappeared, but there were details that didn't quite fit. If someone planned to leave voluntarily, why leave behind their passport? Why leave their phone? Why leave their child? There were no airline reservations. No financial transactions. No digital activity after the night she was last seen. The timeline Joseph provided was specific. He said that on the evening of October 8th, he gave his wife a long back massage. They spoke briefly. She mentioned she had to wake up early but did not explain why. They went to bed around 9:30 or 10 p.m. He later stayed up watching videos online before eventually going to sleep. At 5 a.m. he woke to their daughter crying. Mengqi was not in bed. Instead of immediately calling authorities, he assumed she had left on her own. He spent the next day driving around with his child. He went on long trips, he said, to clear his head. Only after a family friend came to check on Mengqi, prompted by her worried mother in China, did he contact police. Investigators quickly noticed something unusual about Joseph's demeanor. He seemed more focused on how the situation affected him than on the urgent need to find his wife. He spoke about finishing his semester at school. He talked about not wanting to mess things up. Then came a pivotal discovery. Joseph had secretly recorded hours of conversations between himself and Mengqi during their marriage. These recordings painted a far darker picture than the one he had presented publicly. The audio captured arguments filled with tension, control, and emotional volatility. Mengqi expressed feeling isolated and unhappy. She described sacrificing her career, living frugally, and feeling unsupported. She documented conflicts involving her mother, who had come from China to help after the baby was born. Cultural differences deepened the strain. Joseph's tone in the recordings often shifted from frustration to aggression. He accused her of disrespect. He criticized her communication with her family. At times, his words reflected resentment and hostility. In one recording, divorce was openly discussed. Joseph had searched online for divorce filing fees. He had researched legal options. Financial concerns were clear. Behind closed doors, the marriage was unraveling. As investigators dug deeper, another troubling piece of evidence surfaced. Months before Mengqi disappeared, she had sent a photograph to her mother showing a severe bruise on their infant daughter. When questioned, Joseph admitted he had pinched the baby in frustration while trying to stop her crying. He was arrested on child abuse charges. While in custody, detectives obtained search warrants and examined his belongings. Among the items seized were muddy hiking boots. Meanwhile, search efforts intensified. Authorities tracked Joseph's movements on the day after Mengqi vanished. Cell phone data placed him in various locations around Columbia and Jefferson City. At one point, he spent time near the Lamine River. an area he had not clearly explained in interviews. Despite extensive searches, no body was found for over a year. In February 2020, prosecutors charged Joseph with first-degree murder, even without recovering Mengqi's remains. They believed the evidence, recordings, inconsistencies, digital data, was strong enough to proceed. Then, in March 2021, a breakthrough came. Human remains were discovered in Rockbridge Memorial State Park near a place called Devil's Icebox, a location significant to the couple's history. It was where Joseph had proposed years earlier. Forensic analysis confirmed the remains were Mengqi Ji. Her skeleton showed 4 broken ribs clustered together. Medical experts could not determine the exact cause of death due to decomposition, but the rib fractures became central to the prosecution's case. Joseph had previously described giving her a massage the night she disappeared, using what he called pressing maneuvers on her back. Prosecutors argued that those maneuvers could have caused the rib fractures. They theorized that he had applied extreme pressure during a moment of anger, severely injuring her. Whether she died from those injuries or was killed afterward became a critical question. At trial, Joseph took the stand. His defense strategy shifted. He admitted to causing her death but claimed it was accidental. He testified that they had argued that she pushed him and that he pushed her back. He said she fell and hit her head. He described waking up to find her dead beside him. Instead of calling emergency services, he panicked. He placed her body in his car and drove to the park where he buried her. The prosecution challenged his account, pointing to inconsistencies and the extensive efforts he made to conceal the crime. They highlighted his written notes instructing himself to show sorrow in public and avoid speaking in the past tense. They argued that these were not the actions of a man in shock, but of someone calculating his image. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison for the murder, plus an additional 10 years for child abuse. Mengqi Ji was 28 years old at the time of her death. Today, her daughter is being raised between families in the United States and China. She will grow up knowing her mother through stories, photographs, and court transcripts. This case is not just about one tragic marriage. It reflects larger issues: isolation in immigrant relationships, financial control, domestic conflict that escalates behind closed doors, and warning signs that often go unnoticed until it is too late. Statistics show that domestic violence remains one of the leading causes of death for women in abusive relationships. Many victims document their experiences quietly, hoping for change. Sometimes those recordings become their voice when they are no longer here to speak. In the early days of the investigation, some wondered whether Mengqi had left willingly. But people who knew her described her as devoted to her daughter. She had plans for the future. She had arranged to pick up baby supplies days after she vanished. She did not disappear. She was silenced. And yet, through digital footprints, hidden recordings, and relentless investigative work, the truth surfaced. But even with a conviction, questions linger. What truly happened in those final moments inside that bedroom? Was it an explosion of rage? A calculated decision? Or something in between? Only 2 people were present that night. One is gone. The other will carry his version of events for decades behind bars. And perhaps the most haunting question remains: how many warning signs did it take before the silence became permanent?